My name is not Jared Erickson.
What is your name? It's not Chad.
It's Chad.
Chad what?
T-Ring.
Chad sounds like he's a little f***ed up.
57 grams of meth, 8 grams of fentanyl, 36 yellow alprazolam pills, 3 grams of THC, and oxycodone pills.
Sounds like a weekend to me, at Bernie's. Doesn't it sound like a good start to a party?
Can you just hold my pants up so my ass crack and stick out for the lady?
Can you please pull my pants up so my ass crack isn't open in front of the lady? I think that's the least of your problems. I don't think she really gives a shit about your ass crack. You see all this activity and all this chaos and all this bullshit? This is what drug dealing looks like.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, and guess what I am? I'm your board-certified criminal defense lawyer. Yours, just you. You know who I'm talking to. And I am coming to you with my pearl handle pistol cufflinks, accompanied by our content genius, Michael Rivers, who's behind the camera. And actually, he gave me these, so I feel compelled to wear them, and they look fantastic. So today, we are reacting to every drug dealer's worst nightmare. Before we get to that, this is brought to you by eForms.com. eForms.com is a very effective way to do business by creating remote documents, and you don't have to hire a lawyer to get a legally binding contract, to do a power of attorney, to get a rental agreement, any kind of thing like that. So when my grandmother is downstairs in her basement and she's on Craigslist looking to buy some kind of four-wheeler because she likes to go mudding all the time, you should see her. She gets filled with mud. And she and her little cronies, they go crazy. But when Grandma buys her four-wheeler, which she's actually doing a search for that right now on Craigslist, she wants to be protected. Let's say she buys it and it's all of a sudden stolen, but she has a bill of sale. Guess what? She has proof that she bought it. For whatever other kind of implications, you have a legally binding agreement that is created by eForms.com, not an expensive lawyer, because I would just charge a ton of money, and my grandma can't afford it. And I wouldn't give her a break on a fee anyway. So that is eForms.com. Make sure you visit them and use them. And so before we get to every drug dealer's worst nightmare, I want to give a shout out to a couple people. So Madeline writes, "This is a card for justice. The 11th in the major arena." I think that's what it says. Y'all are one heck of a team, and I love the videos. Not only do I tell my friends, but I show them to my own dad. A funny joke, he once called me father and son, LOL, nope, daughter. I would like to especially thank the content genius, Michael Rivers. You find the greatest and most random things. Keep at it. This is the card she sends, the card of justice. I don't throw it, I love this stuff, and I keep it all, and it's so awesome. Then we also have Dave, and Dave writes, "Bruce and content genius Michael Rivers, I am a big fan of your Bruce Rivers CLR channel on YouTube. I love the commentary and, of course, your sense of humor." I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he made these chains, these bullet chains. You see this? Your keychain? And on it, it's got my name, and it says "Stop Self-Snitching," and it's actually done really well. We got a picture of it here. But it's done with electrolysis and polyurethane and some other things. I'm not going to be bringing that to the airport. So a bit more about the bullet chain. The text and design are drawn on the etching by electrolysis. The bullet is simply a twig. So it's a casing with a twig on the end. Anyway, Dave, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. This blows me away how kind you guys are. All right, so this is about drug dealing. I've handled a lot of drug cases in my day, and it never ceases to amaze me. Let me just tell you, behind every drug dealer, there's all kinds of snitches out there. The government's cases are all built on what? Snitches. You get a user that gets popped with some drugs in his car because they get pulled over, and all of a sudden they get a drug case. And guess what? Here comes the task force. The task force says, "Hey, you want to get out of this case? I got to wait for you to get out of it." So they snitch on their dealer. They snitch on and what happens is, how Facebook, has got a mesh, a network of people. This person, this person. Well, that's what happens with the agents on federal drug cases. So let's just kind of see what happens here.
An officer was on routine patrol when he observed a particular silver vehicle in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. The officer knew that the female driver was on probation for drug-related activities. He was aware that she had been residing at a local hotel notorious for drug use.
Let me tell you something what happens at hotels. Drugs happen at hotels. And a lot of times people will always, because there'll also be users and possessors and sellers. A lot of sellers of drugs are also users. And I had one case, my client had a felon in possession charge. He passed out, and he's naked on the bed, and he's got drugs in the room, and he is stayed past his time where the hotel was rented. Hello? So the manager calls the cops and said I can see him in there, and so the cops come and they roust him, and there's a pistol right next to him, and you're kind of screwed. So using drugs in hotels is super common.
Distribution and other illegal activities. Eventually, the officer witnessed the female and another male entering a different hotel. He proceeded to follow them and approached the pair in the hallway.
Hello? Your name's Jared?
No.
What's your name?
I'm Chad.
Chad what? I thought you were Jared. Somebody else. How you spell your last name, man? You don't have any warrants, man.
So, okay, he knows she's on probation for drugs. What's their probable cause for stopping them? Doesn't appear that there is any at this point.
Warrants or anything, do you?
No.
Who do you guys know here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, a friend here? Where you guys come from? Oh,
You don't have to answer any of his questions. Them being in a hotel is not illegal. There's a case called Terry versus Ohio. Everybody should know that. It's reasonable and articulable suspicion is required that a crime was committed and the person committed it, usually right in front of the officer, unless he's got some credible source. And right now, all he has is just her history with nothing further.
just asking. Who stays here?
A friend? Why are you questioning me so much?
I'm just asking. They're not answering the door, though.
The officer requested dispatch to conduct a records check on the male, revealing that he had no outstanding warrants.
Jennifer. All right, man. You guys are good to go. See ya.
Upon returning to his patrol car, he decided to conduct another records check on the male's identity.
Now here's the deal. Let's say I'm that guy, and I got a bunch of dope on me. Guess what I'm doing? I'm getting the fuck out of Dodge. I'm not staying at that hotel or any hotel near there, and I'm getting an Uber someplace.
During this process, the image and description
And I wouldn't go back to my vehicle, especially if my vehicle had drugs in it.
associated with the provided name did not align with the male's appearance. This led the officer to suspect that the male had given him a false identity.
False identity. Guess what? That is a crime. That is a foray now into the government fucking with you.
He then returned to the hotel parking lot and spotted the two individuals near the front door. The officer believed the male could be someone named Jared with a felony warrant, but the male denied being Jared.
Jared! There you are.
No, I'm not.
You're not Chad.
I'm not Jared. My name is not Jared. My name is Chad.
Chad what?
Chad T-Ring.
You got an ID?
I don't have an ID.
So lift up your head. You're not.
My name is Chad.
You have an ID?
I don't have an ID, sir.
Come on here, I'll show you.
No.
Yeah, hey, you can't go.
Yes, I can. What did I do?
Because I looked at the thing, it looks like you're Jared Erickson.
My name is not Jared Erickson.
What is your name? It's not Chad.
It's Chad.
Chad
T-Ring.
what?
T-Ring.
I'll show
Chad sounds like he's a little fucked up. And this is the thing about drugs. Takes your freedom, takes your health, takes your money. Oh, but goddamn it, I gotta have a lot more of it. Oh, it takes your freedom. Did I say that?
the booking for. It's not you.
My name is not Jared Erickson.
Then what is it? It's not Chad.
It's Chad, sir. This is not. My name is Chad T-Ring.
The Chad T-Ring was bald, 6'3", and 180 something pounds. That's not.
Yeah, but I shrank.
All right, stop reaching for stuff.
I'm not reaching. I'm reaching my bag, sir. I did not. You cannot. You cannot put
You
your
gotta
hands
stay
on
here.
me.
You
No.
lied about your name.
No, I did
you lied
not.
About,
I did
your
not
name's
lie.
Your name's not Chad.
Don't put your hands on me.
Your name's not Chad.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Don't put your hands.
Your
Yes,
name's
it
not
is. It is Chad T. Rinks.
No, it's not.
Sir,
I
don't
looked
put
at it.
your
It says-
hands on me.
it says-
Why are you doing this,
Stop.
dude? My
Stop
name
it.
is Chad.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's not Chad.
No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, can you? What withering interrogation? No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not.
You're Jared Erickson.
No, I'm not.
Then stop resisting right now.
Okay.
Hang out.
All right.
We're gonna figure out who you are because what you told me is not true. You might be
Yes.
Chad, but you're not Chad Turing.
Yeah,
Now look, you're not
T-E-E.
you're not 6'3" and you're not 185 pounds and you're not bald. She's leaving you.
Are you leaving me?
So you're gonna tell me your real name or
My
not?
name is Chad
Now that was the smartest thing she could do. Is just fucking leave that guy behind.
T-Ring guy.
I looked at your booking photos.
This is illegal.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, because your name is not Chad.
Yes, it is, sir.
No, stop.
Will you let me go, please?
Until we figure out your name, you gotta stop.
Dude, okay, dude. My name is Chad.
So far, other than the false name, what is the crime that he's committed? Nothing.
T-Ring, bro.
No, turn around that way. We're gonna detain you right
No.
Your name's not Chad,
Yes,
dude.
it is, dude. Let me go.
No, it's not.
Will you let me go, dude?
I just looked up.
Let me
Stop.
go, dude.
Stop.
No, dude. Come on. Stop. Please.
Your name's not Chad.
Now you might think that you can resist an unlawful arrest. In most jurisdictions, especially in Minnesota, you cannot resist an unlawful arrest. So it just, I mean, so he's compounding things by doing this.
Chad, dude.
But he's probably also got dope on him.
Your name is not Chad.
Let me go.
Your name's not Chad. He's fighting me. Hurry up.
While attempting to take him into custody, the officer observed him concealing a black box in the fender of a nearby vehicle.
I'm gonna tase you, bro. You better stop now.
Don't tase me, bro.
Tase you. I'm gonna tase you, dude. Knock it off, Jared.
It's not Jared.
What is your name then? You're lying.
No, 28 as well.
All right, my name is Steve.
The male continuously resisted and was ultimately dropped on his ass, causing the officer's body cam to deactivate.
It never works out to fuck with the police. Better off just going peacefully and not saying a thing. But he shouldn't have talked to them at all. I mean, I don't have to identify myself to you. I've done nothing wrong. I don't want to talk to you. He should have had one of these and looked in the mirror.
Stop it.
Just, okay, you see all this activity and all this chaos and all this bullshit? This is what drug dealing looks like when it goes wrong. You know, some people think, oh, yeah, if I just sell some shit, you know, I can get a car, I can get a watch, I can get a grill, I can get this, I can get that. You know, I can get women, the kind of women that, you know, that you get with this kind of activity. And the guys that are in this, you know, this is more, it's easier to get a job. Go to school.
Right back.
Okay.
Slow down.
Wait.
One in custody, other units are slow down.
Good walk. You dumb something over there.
I got all this. I can breathe.
You alright, bud?
Oh.
I'm gonna check this out. Probably meth. Yeah. Meth. 100 bucks. Let's see. There we go. That's what I thought.
My name's not Jared.
Well, you lied about your name. It's not Chad. I can assure you that.
Ironically, his real name wasn't Jared. Instead, he was identified as Jacob, a 31-year-old with 3 active warrants for his arrest.
That's a bummer for him. You know, it isn't hard to just stay out of jail. It really isn't. Just stay in school, get a good job, get a good woman, do what you got to do, put money in the bank, and stay away from drugs. It's not that hard.
What's your name then?
You're gonna find out anyway.
So tell us then.
Tell us.
Jacob.
Jacob who?
What are you searching at?
What's wrong?
Another pocket.
What's wrong?
I'm trying to such a reason to just pull my pants off my ass back and stick out for the lady.
Can you please pull my pants up so my ass crack isn't open in front of the lady? Or out in front of the lady. I think that's the least of your problems. I don't think she really gives a shit about your ass crack.
Alright. Stand up. Ding, ding, ding.
I can take him.
Where am I going?
You mean my face could punch you?
And here's the thing. You know, a lot of people think drugs are a victimless crime and all that stuff. But there's so much involved with drugs. There's guns that are involved with drugs. There's illegal money that's involved with drugs. There's overdosing that's involved with drugs. There's deaths that caused by drugs. And with fentanyl, you know, I think in the last 2 years in northern Minnesota, there have been over 300 fentanyl overdoses and like 70 deaths. I mean, it's an epidemic. So it is not just a victimless crime.
I need to.
So when you get in there, this is in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, which is a small town. And guess what these cops do? When they know who's fucked up. They know who the local drug dealers are. They know who's got a warrant and who doesn't. So you're on the street in those little towns, guess what? It's not like you're in a bigger city like Minneapolis or Chicago or even New York for that matter. You know, they don't know who people are because they're just going from call to call to call. But these guys in small towns, they got nothing to do. So it's nothing, no skin off his nose to shag her ass in another hotel. Because he knows some illegal shit's going down. So just all he had to do was just kind of roust him a little bit, and then they made the mistake.
Because I went over there, looked at the booking folder name, he told me 6'3", 180 something pounds. Like, nah.
That dude's under 5'10". You good?
That's what I'm talking about.
You good?
Yeah.
A lot of meth?
I just don't like, you know, the gloating and the hooting and hollering. But when you have a 2-year education, you know, that's what really gets you off.
Yeah, that's a good amount.
But I do like them taking people off the street because they feed my children.
Yeah, that's a good amount of meth.
You got a cell phone? Annalise?
She dipped.
Did she?
She knew. Yeah, I think he smacked me in the face, but I don't know.
How dumb is that? I mean, all of a sudden he realizes he fucked up, and then now he's got an assault against a police officer, felony. He's got possession of drugs, felony, and obstructing justice, felony.
We got battery to an officer.
I don't know if he hit me though purposely or what.
I would argue that if it's in a...
That is a good statement for him on the assault. I don't know if he hit me on purpose or what.
in an active fight like that.
Yeah, he was trying to get away.
He's got a ton of cash.
Inside the black magnetic box were various drugs, including 57 grams of meth, 8 grams of fentanyl, 36 yellow alprazolam pills, 3 grams of THC, and oxycodone pills.
Sounds like a weekend to me, at Bernie's. Doesn't it sound like a good party, a good start to a party? If you have over 50 grams of meth, he could be looking at at least a 5-year mandatory minimum. If he's got 2 priors, or if he's got 1 prior, he could be looking at a 10-year mandatory minimum. 2 priors, he could be looking at a 20-year mandatory minimum. And guess what? If he's got 3 priors, he could be looking at life. I mean, that's why these dumb drug dealers are, especially at this level, because he's low a level. But the cops just took his money, took his drugs, and took his body. Nothing left. And this just goes to show you, he's on the street, he's dealing on the street, he's in a hotel, and those are areas where you can get fucked with.
Additionally, over $1,200 in cash was found in Jacob's coat pocket.
I'll just probably leave it in here. Oh my gosh.
Do you want to, you get an evidence bag? We'll just put the cash in there for now.
Felony possession with intent.
See, he's got 56 grams, but you see how it's packaged? That's packaged for sale. And when something's packaged for sale, that's different than somebody is using. You know, almost every time I have somebody that's using that gets popped with a drug charge, even if it's a larger quantity, if I get them cleaned up, you know, go to treatment, and all of a sudden they're now clean and sober, and they've got a support system, I can always keep them out of prison. But on the distribution charges, very, very difficult to keep somebody like that out of prison unless they snitch. But I don't represent snitches.
So those magnets there,
That's what he's trying to do. He was trying to put it up in the car. We're fighting that car right there. Trying to make sure that's not damaged.
You know, that's interesting because there's all kinds of different ways people store drugs in a car to avoid detection. You know, they put them, you know, pull off the side panel of the door and then put them in the door and then put them in tires, put them under the engine. All kinds of different ways that people try to conceal drugs in a car.
Damaged because I slammed him into her car. She left.
She left in the vehicle.
Yep.
That was smart of her to fucking leave. Left him holding the bag. Sounds like a match made in heaven.
I'm gonna check that car, make sure it's not damaged. What is that car? Damaged. It's not their car. Rubbing on here.
Put them on cell phone restrictions at the jail. I'll tell you on that. That's probably 26. That's probably 26. Or
Maybe these little ones.
Yep. It's not bad. Yeah, it is. That's him. No bags of coke. Fentanyl and coke. That's pretty consistent with 26 ounces. Probably a little bit less a piece. Can you?
26 ounces? That was not 26 ounces. 26 grams, maybe, but not 26 ounces. 28 grams is an ounce.
Pull up his booking photo. No, 20 liquids. You can confirm the ones.
Oh, man, he's a big guy. For his size, he's heavy. Yeah, like I was telling them, gave me the name. We were inside there. I came out, looked it up, and it was 6'3", 180. Flip back around. You lied about your name. You gave me a fake, gave me somebody else's name, date of birth, and everything. So we're doing a deal.
Now keep in mind, at the outset, he did not have to give the officer any information. The officer followed him into the hotel and asked him, "Who do you know here?" And you could say, "Nobody. I mean, I don't have to answer your questions. I do not have to answer anything you have to say. Am I free to leave?" What's the crime at that point? There's no crime. It's a public building.
With that.
So Connor just let her know all the charges, and then I told her to do phone restrictions because the drug battery.
Yeah, identity. What's it called when the felony one? Not resisting when you give a fake name or someone else's name to avoid a warrant.
Oh, well, was it a real name? Like
Real
it
name.
came back to a return. You got to call that person. We need to make sure that he did not give consent for that. But that's identity theft. I don't know the statute number.
Avoidance.
That is not identity theft. I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll talk about that in another episode, but I love listening to these cops interpret statutes.
Avoidance.
Yeah.
Avoidance, that's it.
And PD then?
Go.
All right, good job.
Thanks.
In the end, Jacob was slammed with felony counts of possession with intent to deliver meth, fentanyl, narcotics, Schedule 4 drugs, possession of THC, second offense, battery to an officer, identity theft, bail jumping ×2, and misdemeanor resisting an officer. Every charge was a repeater. He was ultimately given a cash bond set at $10,000.
In Wisconsin, that means he had to put up 10 grand, not 10%. So a little word to the wise. Number one, don't do drugs. Drugs take your freedom, your health, your money, and, there's no upside to it. Oh, maybe it feels good in the initial, but, anytime you touch drugs, you don't know if you're dealing with a snitch or not, because snitches also get users and dealers. And if you're selling drugs, find something else to do. And it's not because I have this philosophical bent against drugs. I just was always too afraid to do drugs. My dad was a fireman, and he would respond to these medicals all the time because they were first responders. And he would tell us these stories about people overdosing and that kind of thing. And then he showed us this video once, and my sister was screaming, and it scared the shit out of me. I was just a little kid. And ever since, I was always too afraid to try drugs. And I'm glad I didn't. You know, it's very difficult when somebody that you love is on drugs and can't get off of them. And then all of a sudden you yank them out of an ER from an overdose. Or they lie to you, or they steal from you, or whatever. Just be kind to everybody around you, and try not to be anybody's worst nightmare, let alone a drug dealer's worst nightmare. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your criminal defense lawyer, board certified. And right now I'm actually in a homicide trial, so we're taking a little break from that to do this. I want you to know that I want you to subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, sign up for Patreon because we're doing some good work there, and we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer React.
Oh, yeah, I know. I just want this duct tape, and I want these ski masks, and I want a Draco, and, it's just for home protection. I mean, what the These guys are not the brightest. Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your very own personal board-certified criminal defense lawyer, coming to you with an update on Lil Durk and the plea to the court, let me out, let me out, let me out. Anyway, before we get to that, this is brought to you by AskALawyer.com. Let's say you're starting a business and you're in your grandson's basement and you want to know how to incorporate so your grandson doesn't get exposed to liability. You want a corporate shell. What do? You call AskALawyer.com. Figure out how to do that. $49 gets you the advice that you need. Do I have a claim? I have a landlord-tenant issue. Do you have a criminal issue? Do you have whatever kind of issue you have? Go to AskALawyer.com. For $49, you talk to a live lawyer. Living and breathing lawyer. Yes, we do have hearts and lungs, the normal things that you people do. They also have an AI component. They're trained on all the states' laws and federal laws. So if you need to look something up, you can do that with the AI and get good information fast and cheap. So go to AskALawyer.com. Same folks that brought to you eSign and eForms. Very loyal sponsor of the channel, and I highly recommend it. AskALawyer.com. Now, I get these cards. You guys are so nice, and you know what? It's ongoing. The grief with losing a son is just every day, every damn day. I have his pictures up, and they're hard to look at, to be quite frank with you. Steve and his girlfriend, Astel, I'm butchering her, but Steve, thanks for the card. And then there's also one here from Matilda Nelson. Thank you. And then there's also one from this Josh Holland. Mr. Rivers, my name is Josh Howard. Josh Howard. I am an artist and tattooist from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. My girlfriend, Kendra Kyman, is a huge fan of your CLR and has made me one as well. We were very saddened to hear of your son's passing. He seemed like a real sweet guy. He was, actually. And I'm very sorry for your loss. Enclosed is a painting I did for you. I hope you like it. It is done in the style and format of a tattoo flash, the type of art you will see on the walls of a traditional tattoo parlor. When I was painting the Content Genius sign, this is just interesting, actually, I thought for a moment that I spelled content wrong, thinking that I wrote it as the word meaning to be in a state of peaceful happiness, content as opposed to content. They're spelled the same. So I was able to look it up because to be sure, and it turns out content and content are spelled the same. I suppose it has a fitting design for a double meaning, a content genius at peace, or content genius at peace. So this is just amazing. I'll show you this, guys, here, and we'll zoom up on this. You can see a picture of this in a second. But I mean, amazing artwork. Thank you, Josh. I can't tell you how much the well wishes from the supporters mean to me. It really does, because Michael was my life. I mean, so is my daughter too. Michael is my firstborn. He's a son. We were partners. And my daughter is my life too. I mean, we do all kinds of stuff together. We ride on the motorcycle together, but now she's away at college, which if your kids move away, what does that mean? Does that mean they don't like you? It's just tough. It's tough every day. But these cards, keep them coming. I really appreciate it. All right. With that said, thank you, Josh. All right. Let's get into a little Dirk. Now let's just have a recap of what Dirk is about. So Dirk was arrested near the Miami airport after law enforcement he's been booked on multiple flights. He's accused of entering into an agreement to kill a rival rapper after they killed one of theirs. Now, let me tell you something about this. This stuff is going on all over the country. And remember I said there's, this cycle of violence has to stop. One of the things they've done here in Minneapolis is they've taken 45 guys off the street. 45 guys. I go to trial on the 12th of May on a RICO case, and half these guys have already pled guilty in state court of the murders. Now they want to get them on RICO, so they're looking at life. They're not fucking around, and they're doing this all over the country. I think we did one on the Rolling 60s in L.A. So let's just kind of talk about here what's going on. Banks, he's 32. He's also known as Dirk Banks is his name. Lil Dirk, a.k.a. Blood, and Mustafa Abdul Malak of Chicago. They're charged with one count of conspiracy and one count of interstate facilities to commit murder for hire, resulting in the death, and one count of carrying and discharging firearms in a machine gun and possession of such firearms in furtherance of a crime, resulting in death. Those are crimes punishable by life imprisonment. Dirk is the lead defendant in the case. There's like 5 other people that are indicted as well. I'm not going to go into their names, but now keep in mind, he was arrested at near the Miami International Airport, booked on flights. Basically, according to the superseding indictment that happened, I think in November, Banks formed an organization called the Only the Family, OTF, and which, among other things, produced and sold hip-hop music from artists primarily from the Chicago area. So OTF acted as an association in fact. That's kind of magic language, association in fact, because that's what they use on these RICO type stuff. And individuals who engaged in violence, including murder and assault at Banks' direction, and to maintain their status in OTF, maintain their status. So one of the things they have to prove in a RICO indictment is that the conduct that we're talking about, and here is a murder, is designed for 2 purposes, one of 2 purposes. One, to either benefit the gang or the enterprise, or 2, to increase the person's position within the organization. Lil Durk was in a feud with a guy by the name of TB. That's how he's identified. And the feud stemmed from a November 6, 2006 murder in which an associate of TB shot and killed an OTF member, a rapper named Davon Bennett, a.k.a. King Von, right? So Bennett and Banks were close friends. So this is a revenge killing. And there's just so much of this shit going on. So Banks is allegedly ordered to murder and he sent these hitmen money. And he used his own fucking credit cards to do it. He booked flights for him and got hotels and that kind of thing, and then coordinated and paid for the 5 conspirators to travel from Chicago to California on the day before the murder. Around the time the one-way flights were purchased, Banks told OTF associates booking the flights, "Don't book no flights under no names involved with me." And they've got that, like in probably a text message or a DM. The same day they traveled from Chicago to California, Banks was on a private jet going to California with another co-conspirator, Kayvon London, a.k.a. Cuz, and Vonnie. Later that day, Grant allegedly purchased this is so dumb. This is Kayvon London. Grant purchased ski masks for the shooters to commit and paid using a credit card in Banks' name. Where the fuck would you find ski masks in California? Oh, yeah, I know. I just want this duct tape, and I want these ski masks, and I want a Draco, and, it's just for home protection. I mean, what the fuck? These guys are not the brightest. The problem is that Banks was apprehended trying to leave the state. Then you go in front of a magistrate, and you have what they call a detention hearing. And when you have a case like this, if you're trying to leave the country, what are the two things that they talk about when at a bail hearing? Risk of flight and danger to the public. Well, danger to the public is kind of presumed when you have a fucking murder case, right? And then if you're trying to get on a fucking international flight, guess what? Risk of flight is a presumption that can't be, rebutted, really. And so with this kind of case, what happens is there's you think, oh, you're entitled to bail. No, you're not necessarily entitled to bail. There's called a rebuttable presumption that you're detained. In other words, you're detained. You got to prove, now it's on you, the defendant, to prove that there's a condition or set of conditions with which, you can put up to the court to make sure that, you're going to, not only that you're going to come back to court, but that you're not going to be a danger to the public. So what are they doing now? Dirk's team has filed a motion for his release in jail due to false information being presented. This is what they're saying. Defendant Dirk Banks, through his counsel of record, moves to court to dismiss the superseding indictment against him in this matter. In the alternative, he moves to compel disclosure of the grand jury minutes and evidence the government presented to the grand jury. The motion is based on the attachment, so they filed a motion to dismiss. The problem with the production, however, in other words, the discovery that the government has produced, is that Mr. Banks did not create these videos, and the government has failed to show any nexus between the manufactured video clips and Mr. Banks. These videos were not created nor posted at Mr. Banks' direction. The internet users who posted these videos, including OTF Edit and Mix Tape, are apparently fan pages maintained by people with no affiliation to Mr. Banks or only the family Inc. The court should order production of the grand jury transcripts. So a prosecutor, and this is the conclusion, a prosecutor who knowingly secures an indictment based upon false information or who allows falsely obtained indictment to persist routes the grand jury from its central protective function. That is clearly what happened here. I mean, he's saying basically that the government has put up false information. There's a song reference in Little Dirk's defense is Wonderful Way and Jackie Boy by Babyface featuring Little Dirk. The defense argues the prosecutor misrepresented the lyrics, falsely suggesting that they celebrated the 2022 murder of Robinson, Lil Pab, when the song was recorded 7 months before the incident. So apparently what they did was they have a fan page, whether it's a fan page or not. But so I think was that the original version that I just showed? All right, so let's look at the original song, okay? The thing about this is, I'm watching this video and, I mean, they're using in this RICO thing that I'm doing, all this social media shit that these guys are doing. All of it. Here's me, you see these guys holding up money, and they're just flexing their money, basically bragging that they got all this cash. And then you see them, doing this, I'm going to bring Melly back. I mean, all this murderous shit is stuff that they're using in these trials. So you see, he's talking about these people that have died and getting revenge. Look on the news and you see your son and you say, no. Oh, honestly, these guys just aren't doing themselves favors. So that's the original version, right? But then look at the fan version. And supposedly that was filmed, almost a year before this thing happened. And let's watch this. Gang shit, fang shit. I mean, what the fuck? Is that your baby's daddy? Is that somebody you want to be proud of? I mean, and I get art, and it's in the street art. But is art imitating life, or is life imitating art, or is this reality? So what did they do? You know, the judge granted Lil Durk a bail review hearing. In other words, now that this is over, not over, but now that, you know, we're litigating this and now we have the discovery, we see what the government's trying to use, we're going to file a motion to dismiss and try to get him out. So the judge granted Lil Durk a bail review hearing in his murder for hire case after his legal team claimed prosecutors used false evidence to secure an indictment. They didn't just use the video. I guarantee you, they've got credit card statements showing that he bought these guys tickets to go kill these guys. This key video was fan edited according to the defense. Lyrics were cited that were recorded before the incident. But if it was re-released, you know, and posted around the same time, is that evidence of anything? I don't really know. They offered $900,000 in real estate, $1 million, $150,000 from an associate, plus 24/7 security. Where did we see something like this? NBA Youngboy. And guess what? They were successful. And they got rid of his fucking case for the most part, right? And then while he was out on bond, what did he do? He tried to do prescription fraud. Thank you very much. The government has to prove Lil Durk is kind of the mastermind behind this. You know, he was somewhere else. He's not the trigger man. I guarantee you the government's evidence isn't related to just this one video. Here's what's going to wind up happening. You can guarantee that guess what happens almost every snitch federal case. Oh, wait, did I say snitch? Yeah, snitch. You know, people are going to fall by the wayside. There's going to be a cooperating defendant somewhere. Nobody likes to go to jail, let alone go to jail for the rest of their life. And so if someone is going to be able to point the finger that's in his inner circle, that's going to happen. So let's see what Lil Durk's father has to say, because he was on the Breakfast Club.
Even just in talking about it, you're smiling, and it's just, I can imagine, like, you know, just as a parent, it's like, I want my child to be successful, and it's happening, and then you're in a predicament that you're in, and seeing it feels good to know that, like, he's carrying the family and things are working out. And then everything that we are, you know, seeing now happens. How did that feel when you heard the indictment come down and things of that nature?
You know, from being in there and knowing what he up against now,
being in there, that means he's been to prison. He's been in the county. It shouldn't be that the younger one takes care of the older one. I mean, I paid Michael's tuition. I got him through college, and I pay for my daughter's tuition. It's the way it's supposed to work. Nobody buys me a house. I take care of you, you know? If my son's a rapper and he's got fucking millions of dollars, that's his money, not my money.
You run right there so I can be with him to help him through this. Because being in the feds ain't no small task, you know. This is a big thing. They don't give no room. They just snatch you up with almost and put you in a hopeless situation. You know, everybody goes in kind of got to fight their way out to show and prove that this is what it is. But, you know, it hurts to know that he have to go through what I just went through. Have to deal with this system.
Tough for a parent to watch that, honestly.
With this system now, it hurts real bad. You know, first losing the older son and to the streets, and now losing him to the government, you know. So that's why I'm there hands-on, lawyers, hands-on with him, telling him every step of what to do now and how to fight this.
Like even just...
And guess what? The government's listening to every phone call that they have, just so you know. They've got a hearing scheduled for May 8th, and the judge in Los Angeles is scheduled to rule on his motion, on his bond reduction, basically. And what are the options for the judge? The judge can just deny it outright. The judge can say, okay, I'm going to put you in a halfway house, or, okay, I'm going to let you do your thing, but what we're going to do is we're going to put all these conditions in place. So they put up property, you know, you turn in your passport, you do all kinds of other things in order to ensure that you're going to come to court and that you're not going to be a fuck-off. The defense argues that a key video linking to Dirk and the Quando Rondo and Lil Pep was fan-edited and misleading, and that the song lyrics cited as evidence were recorded before the incident. The hearing stems from a motion to reconsider Lil Durk's detention, as he has been held without bond since his arrest in October 2024. It's not uncommon to be held without bond on a federal case. Federal drug cases, they do it all the time. They don't do it on white-collar cases, generally speaking, because the danger to the public isn't there. There is a risk of flight with somebody that's got money, but if the government takes their passport and you have these other requirements, generally, those things are dealt with pretty administratively. But in this case, there's no judge that is going to release him on a homicide. It is a homicide, even though it's a federal conspiracy case. It is a fucking homicide. It's a homicide through and through, and it involves guns, it involves gangs, it involves him going to the airport. How are you not a flight risk when you were in Miami, booked on an international flight? So that's our little update on Lil Durk and where he's at. Lil Durk has filed a motion to reconsider his conditions of release. Mark my words, May 8th is going to get here and he's still going to be in jail. And, it's good that he's got a father that's supportive, but it seems like it's hereditary. And too much of this shit is hereditary. Every time something serious happens, who's handling everything? It's generally not the dads. It's mom, auntie, sister, girlfriend. Probably in that order. We'll see you next time here in Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. Sign up for Facebook. Go to clrbrucerivers.com for all your merch needs. You can even get some art that we posted up there for Michael. If you order, some of his art, it'll come to you in a nicely wrapped tube, and it's high quality, and it's got his signature on it. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer, and want to just thank you everybody for supporting our channel, supporting Patreon. We're going strong there, Instagram, Twitter, and today we're reacting to various headlines of the day. We're going to start out with a case of the sex trafficking case of Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, the trial started this week. They did jury selection, and when you do jury selection in federal court, the judge is the one who questions the jurors. You can come up with some questions of your own, but the judge pretty much takes charge of that process. Then you sit down, and then you decide who you want to kick off, basically, and you get a certain amount of peremptory challenges. Which means that you can kick somebody off for any or no reason as long as it's race and, not one of the protected classes. So race neutral, religious neutral. You can't kick somebody off because they're Chinese, for example, or they're black. So they got the jury selection, then they did opening statements. Now we heard from quite a number of witnesses this week. We heard from the pilot who called Ghislaine Maxwell the number 2, and that Jeffrey Epstein was the big number 1. We heard from a few accusers or victims, and then we also heard from one of the staffers. One of the things that I think is absolutely incredible about this case is, let's just start with the name of his airplane, the Lolita Express. That is what we call self-snitching. Lolita is a term for a precocious young girl, seductive young girl. That is, look it up. And he called his plane the Lolita Express. All right, whatever. It also came out from the pilot that that Bill Clinton was on his airplane 26 times, that Prince Andrew was on his airplane, and so on and so on. So a lot of famous people, and you don't really hear a whole lot about this part of it. But when you have a guy and he had a property in the Bahamas, he had a property in Florida, he had a property in New York, and he had a property in New Mexico. All big spreads, really big spreads. He was worth, I think, at least $500 million. Now, that being said, he didn't get all that money legitimately. But that's not what this case is about. This case is about Ghislaine Maxwell's trafficking young girls, recruiting young girls, and bringing them to Jeffrey Epstein for his sick pedophilic pleasure. So we also heard from, we'll get into the victim testimony in a second, but we also heard from one of the staffers. And I think it's just absolutely phenomenal that, and part of the evidence was the handbook, the employee handbook. You see nothing, you say nothing, you don't ask questions, and you speak only when directly spoken to. That was part of their absolute directives. That's terrible. That is absolutely terrible when it comes down to how it meshes with what the girls' testimony are. Now, when you have a case like this, it's very difficult from the defense perspective, because why would a 14-year-old girl be at Jeffrey Epstein's house? Can you give me any good reason why they should be? Are they models and he's a photographer? He's going to help them become a model? Or are they masseurs and he's going to teach them how to massage his dick? That's probably the more accurate answer. And it came out that, Ghislaine Maxwell would recruit these young ladies, that it would start out with and they actually brought in the green massage table into evidence from his Palm Beach estate. And so then they would begin to massage him. And that would turn slowly grooming them into sex. And Ghislaine Maxwell would participate in it sometimes. So so you have some facts in this case that are undisputed. One, Ghislaine Maxwell had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. No question about it. They're very close. That's a fact that's not even in question. That she was his assistant, and she did things for him, including recruiting girls. Not a fact that is in dispute. The young ladies that are now testifying, the only thing you can really go after them for from a defense perspective is try to say that they're trying to cash in, that this was Jeffrey Epstein's doing, not her doing, that their memory is not accurate. And that's the only way you can go after them. But you have some hardcore facts that you just can't get around. That these girls were all there. That they were told to do sexual things. And there's no other viable explanation for their presence. And that is going to be a big hurdle for the defense in this case. Now, if she's aiding, abetting, otherwise conspiring, basically conspiracy law is where two people agree to commit a crime and just an act in furtherance of the crime. And aiding and abetting is still, something like that. But her actually recruiting girls is the actual act of sex trafficking. And her guidelines are going to be absolutely astronomical. And then there will be grounds for probably an upward departure. So you can better bet that she's going to look at anywhere from 240 to 365 months, which is a long, long time. So that's what we know about Ghislaine Maxwell. They're going to start up again on Monday, and we'll see where the rest of the case goes. So the next case I'd like to talk about is Kimberly Potter. Now, Kimberly Potter was a field training officer in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, or Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park. And she was on duty one day, and they stopped a young man by the name of Dante Wright. And Dante Wright had a warrant, but they stopped him for expired tabs. And I happen to know a little bit about this because a couple of friends of mine are trying the case, Earl Gray and Paul Eng, two of Minnesota's finest lawyers that could ever walk the face of the earth. They're awesome guys, really, really smart people. And then you have, on the other side, you have the Attorney General's office, who is prosecuting the case. Now, what happened was Kimberly Potter was on duty. She was, they had stopped Mr. Wright, asked him to get out of the car. It turns out he had a warrant. I can't remember what the warrant was for. And then he decides to run. And it's unclear. Her partner's hand might have been in the car at the time, but and he starts to take off. And as he's trying to drive away, Kimberly Potter grabs what she thinks is her taser. She grabs she grabs her gun instead, and she points it at Dante Wright and says, "Taser, taser, taser! Pop, pop, pop!" I don't know how many times she shot him, but she shot him and killed him. So this is that's the nature of the case itself. They just did jury selection this week, and will be opening starting opening statements on Wednesday of next week. So the question in that trial that we're going to follow is she's charged with 2 counts. She's counted with manslaughter in the first degree and manslaughter in the second degree. Let's break those down just a little bit real quick. Manslaughter in the first degree is misdemeanor manslaughter, causing the death of another during the course of a commission of a misdemeanor. Now, but both manslaughter cases require the same thing, an awareness of what you're doing. The second count is manslaughter in the second degree, which means you cause the death through culpable negligence. In other words, you have an appreciation for the danger that you're facing, and you don't give a shit and you just go ahead and do it anyway. The government is going to have to show that she knew she was pulling her gun and fired it anyway, and say that she was unjustified. The defense is going to show, and she's going to testify in this case. They said it in their voir dire, the jury selection. So when she gets up there and testifies, she's going to say, I thought I was pulling my taser. I really thought I was pulling my taser. And that's consistent with what the video shows. So she fires her taser into him, or fires her gun into him, but as she's pulling her gun, she's yelling, "Taser, taser, taser." In other words, everybody get away because I'm going to tase this guy. So if she just made a mistake, not just made a mistake, it's a big mistake, but if she made a mistake and didn't have the culpable negligence, she can't be found guilty of that crime. Could she be found liable, like for negligence? You're damn right she could. Regardless of what happens in the criminal context, the city certainly is going to be liable, and so would she be liable for negligence, because you really should know, what side your firearm is on, especially if you're a field training officer. But there's a big difference between criminal liability and civil liability. And it's my guess is that she'll be acquitted in this trial because the state just doesn't have the elements needed to prove their case. So that's an update from the Maxwell case and the Kimberly Potter case. And, in the Kimberly Potter case, we've had all kinds of protesters across the street, but you know what? They were super peaceful. And, I don't have the same sense that we're going to get that kind of same vibe that we had during the George Floyd riots. Everybody seems to have tamed down quite a bit, and let's just hope it stays that way. So this is Bruce Rivers. Thank you for watching another episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. If you're watching this, you should subscribe. You should follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and Patreon is going strong. Get yourself a hat and spread the word. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer, where I actually go to trial and I try cases. That's what being board-certified means. It means you're not afraid of the judge, you're not afraid of the prosecutor, you're not afraid of the facts. Let's go. That's what we do. I'm giving you a quick little update. We're heading to Fort Lauderdale to cover the Melly trial. I will be in Fort Lauderdale tomorrow. And we are going to be broadcasting from a network that is yet to be named. You'll see me on cable TV. Here's the thing. Remember, Melly was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in connection with the October 18th shooting deaths in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, of 2 YNW Melly associates described as his close friends, rappers YNW Sack Chaser and YNW Juvie. Authorities purport that demons conspired with the fellow rappers Cortland Henry to stage the double murder of Williams and Thomas Jr. to make it appear as if they were fatally injured in a drive-by shooting. We did kind of a full analysis of that trial, or what to expect at the trial. Henry allegedly drove the victims to the hospital where they later succumbed to their wounds. Demons turned himself in on February 13, 2019. He announced on his Instagram, "No, I did not get locked up in Washington, but I am turning myself in today. A couple of months ago, I lost my two brothers by violence, and now the system want to find justice. Unfortunately, a lot of rumors and lies are being said, but no worries. God is with me and my brothers." Bortland. And we all want you to remember, it's YNW family. I love you. That's what he said. Now remember, Malley was in the back seat. Bortland, Cortland Henry is his co-defendant, and Juvie and Sack Chaser are the two people who were in harm's way. So, killed. So here's the deal. According to documents, YNW Melly asked for a speedy trial on Thursday, May 26, when his trial got delayed yet again. The request filed a month after jury selections got postponed. So basically the filing says a defendant, Jamel Demons, by and through the undersigned attorney, pursuant to Florida Rule of Criminal Procedure 3.191B, hereby files this demand for a speedy trial, indicating that he is available for trial, has diligently investigated the case, and that he will be prepared and ready for trial within 5 days from the date of the demand. YNW Melly's lawyer wrote, the motion noted under Florida speedy trial statute, anyone accused of a felony is entitled to be tried within 175 days after having been taken into custody. He's been in custody since 2019. YNW Melly has remained in jail since 2019. A jury selection for his murder trial was scheduled to begin in April before a judge postponed the process. He hopes to avoid more delays by filing a motion for a speedy trial. And remember what I said before, a speedy trial never helps the defense. But he's sick of sitting in jail. He wants to get the show on the road. No later from 5 days to the date of the filing of the speedy demand, the court shall hold a calendar call with notice to all parties for the express purpose of announcing in open court receipt and the demand of the setting the case for trial. YNW Melly's attorney wrote at the calendar call, the court shall set the case for trial to commence at a date no later than 5 days, no more than 45 days from the date of the calendar call. So in other words, he wants his trial, he wants it now. So he filed this on the 26th. We're a week later, and guess what's going to happen? We're going to see a trial pretty darn soon. So we're going to go down to Florida. We're going to get the real scoop on everything that happens, and we'll report back. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. This is just a quick update on YNW Melly, and we'll see you next time. Subscribe, follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, sign up for Patreon, and we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
This is going to the origin of a criminal case. How does a criminal case start?
Should we talk about how I got the mayor indicted, or?
Somebody's always looking. You got to conduct yourself as though somebody's always watching you. This may or may not be the peeling of the onion, this video by Sabrina Carpenter, but this is how shit happens. A little thing here, a little thing there, and and then all of a sudden the feds start looking into it. They subpoena the church. Now, why wasn't he detained? Why wasn't Eric Adams detained, but the diddler was? Look at the difference of crimes. The crimes aren't the same.
Especially as a public official.
Especially if you're a mayor of the largest city in the world. Oh, you're in Turkey? Mayor, who's paying for that?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your very own board-certified criminal defense lawyer. We are joined here today with our content genius, Michael Rivers. Say hi, Michael.
Hello, everybody. And
Michael's here behind the camera, in front of the camera. He's behind the ideas, in front of the microphone. And do we have any merch left? Did we sell it all? Are we all done with the merch?
No, we got plenty.
How do you get the merch?
You go to clrbrucerivers.com.
All right. And we got all kinds of stuff. We got hats. I mean, Christmas is coming up, so don't forget to stock up. All right. Before we get to that, this is brought to you by eforms.com, very loyal sponsor of our program. eforms.com. Honestly, it's an incredible resource
for you to go to if you need a legal form. If you go there and you need a bill of sale, power of attorney, rental agreement, whatever you need, go to eforms.com. Eforms.com. It'll protect you in court, keep you out of court, and avoid the high cost of a lawyer to create the document.
Should we talk about how I got the mayor indicted, or?
You can't make this up. You cannot make this up. So this is going to the origin of a criminal case. How does a criminal case start? So we have Mayor Eric Adams. He's accused of receiving campaign contributions illegally, not disclosing, other kind of in-kind contributions that are illegal in the way they're taken, trips, bribes. And how did it all start? Well, we don't know for sure, but let's just play this.
Should we talk about how I got the mayor indicted, or?
So what she did, and we'll show a little bit of a clip, she filmed a music video in a Catholic church in New York City. And so you have Monsignor Gigantiello. He and a guy by the name of Corone, they've been friends. They've been friends for years. Here I'm speaking with an Italian accent, not even meaning to, but that's what happens when you all of a sudden start talking in words that end with a vowel.
And watch Joe Pesci movies.
Right. Anyway, so somehow, what's the pop singer's name?
Sabrina Carpenter. She's huge.
Somehow Sabrina Carpenter wanted to do this video in the church. And Corone arranged it through the Monsignor who was tied back to Eric Adams. Okay, you follow me? And the feds have now subpoenaed the Catholic Church for records. But what happened is she comes out with this kind of spicy video that happens in the church. And the Archbishop gets a little kind of miffed about it because you're not doing that in the house of the Lord, are you?
Investigation.
They were the foundation to this administration.
That was Mayor Adams back in 2022 announcing Frank Corone's departure from city government.
So Frank Corone worked for the mayor for a year. And after he departed, and then he opened his own solutions business. And what do we call that? That's influence peddling. So, oh, you need something done with the mayor? Hey, you put this in this pocket. I'll take care of you right here. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what he was doing. And so that's what he did with this video, right? He went to the mayor and said, hey, mayor, I need this and this and this. And all of a sudden they do this and this and this. And all of a sudden they get a permit for the shooting of this video in this church. That leads to one thing. And then Frank Corone, he's got these business contacts over in Turkey, right? And he raised all the money for Eric Adams, and that snowballed. So this may or may not be the peeling of the onion, as it were, where, what's the fucking pop star's name?
Sabrina Carpenter.
Sorry, I can't fucking remember that. This may or may not be the peeling of the onion, this video by Sabrina Carpenter, but this is how shit happens. A little thing here, a little thing there, and then all of a sudden the feds start looking into it. They subpoena the church. There's no allegation that Gigantiello has done anything wrong necessarily. Certainly, the Archbishop didn't really take too kindly to having a very sexualized video performance filmed in his church. But I had a client one time. He was the controller for a church, actually, and a small church, and he was gambling the church's money away to the tune of about $300,000. And instead of just copping to that and paying the money back, he decides to create fake bank accounts. He decides to create fake bank statements, fake checks, fake whatever, to try to cover up his misdeeds. So when the jig is sort of up and then they all of a sudden execute a search warrant on his home, well, that little thing called I stole $300,000 is nothing compared to the child porn and the 7,500 images they fucking found on his computer. This is how these things generally start. Something comes up over here. Oh, look, it's over here, over here, over here. And pretty soon, before you know it, that onion looks like something you get at TGA Fridays. I mean, just a big floury onion, and it's got all these different cases to it. And that's what happened with Mayor Adams.
when you watch Mayor Adams, as things go forward, this thing's going to blossom into a case that, you know, and he, granted, he has the presumption of innocence, right? That applies to a jury. That doesn't apply to us. We're free to speculate all the hell we want, right? And it's just tragic, but it's, you know, it's because I think Adams would have been just fine otherwise. But it's like, oh, you get tempted by a little bit of greed, by a little bit of this, oh, by a little bit of this, you know, and all of a sudden, you know, he's going to Turkey and he's really enjoying himself and nobody's really questioning anything and nobody's looking over here. You know what? Somebody's always looking. Somebody's always looking. You got to conduct yourself as though somebody's always watching you.
Especially as a public official.
Especially if you're a fucking mayor of the largest city in the world. Oh, you're in Turkey? Mayor, who's paying for that? I mean, tell me that didn't go through every city council member's mind when he's traveling to and from Turkey. So you've got something as innocent as this video that starts, but the influence peddler who's doing this, that unravels the onion.
And in the Bentley suite, which was pretty nice, as we saw in the indictment.
You know, when you're a public servant, you can't live like a sultan. And when you do, expect to pay the price. Everybody that's done that, with the exception of Clarence Thomas, has reached their maximum, and all of a sudden they get called on the carpet. So as things get heated with Eric Adams, and you know, and he's going to go to now. Why wasn't he detained? Why wasn't Eric Adams detained, but the diddler was? Look at the difference of crimes. The crimes aren't the same. First of all, there's no violence in Eric Adams' case, right? And he was allowed to self-surrender, in other words, turn himself into this court date. And there's no hint of him leaving the state, or, you know, he lives there. He's the mayor. Where's the fuck is he going to go? And so they charged him by information, or charged him by indictment. Yeah, indictment. And they allowed him to show up to court. And it's also the crimes that he's charged with, there's not a presumption of detention. As opposed to, in Diddy's case, there's detention is presumed. So he's going to go through, you know, they've executed search warrants, so his lawyers are probably going to try to challenge those. That'll go nowhere. I mean, you get a warrant, a judge signed off on it. So even if the judge is wrong in signing, unless you need a Franks hearing, which a Franks hearing is where there's deliberate false representations to the tribunal, you know, and you can flesh that out. Unless you have that, which you're not going to have that probably in this case, but unless you have that, those search warrants are going to stand. If the search warrant stands, the evidence stands, and, you know, you're off to the races. Then it becomes, what does it mean? You know, sometimes the best cases for a defense lawyer is not, okay, we're not going to argue about the facts. We're just going to argue about what this means. And I think you're going to have that kind of a case with Eric Adams. So this is just a quick update on, you know, the origin of the Eric Adams case. We'll see you next time here in Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, along with our content genius, Michael Rivers. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. Where do you get the merch? I just don't know why people have to be so crazy. You know, I mean, it's like the more money you have, the more trouble you can get in. Hi, I'm Bryce Rivers. Oh, wait a second. Am I Bryce Rivers or Bruce Rivers? What? Where did it go? I'm Bruce Rivers, your board-certified criminal defense lawyer, beardless. Now you can see how fat my face really is. And by the way, you know, what I do here at this desk does hide my gut, and I need to lose probably 30 pounds. So just so everybody is clear, I'm not trying to hide anything, especially my face. But you know what? This feels really good. And it may come back. I don't know. I just thought I'd go a little crazy and grow a face instead of a beard. All right, before we get started today on Criminal Lawyer Reacts with our content genius behind the helm, Mr. Michael Rivers, we're going to react today to Sean P. Diddle Combs and his new allegations that came out. And we're going to go through the complaint and then what the allegations are. Before we get to our reaction of P. Diddler,
we're gonna react to the new complaint by Rodney Jones. We're gonna talk a little bit about the past little things that he's gone through, and But before we go to that, this is brought to you by what? By eForms.com. eForms.com is a very effective way to avoid expensive and boisterous and well-dressed attorneys like me. And what does that mean? eForms.com, you go to eForms.com. If you need a power of attorney, you need any kind of agreement. My grandmother just rented out the basement to a bunch of her friends. I didn't even know about it, but she went to eForms.com, and she got an agreement. Now I'm making $5,000 a month just on my basement with all my grandma's buddies downstairs. Not true, actually. My grandma's dead. but in any event, eForms.com is an effective way to get a legal form that protects you in any kind of business endeavor, whether it be a power of attorney, whether it be a rental agreement, business agreement, bill of sale, any kind of agreement that they have online. It will protect you in a court of law, and it's cheap. You don't have to hire a guy like me. I would just charge you a ton of money, and you can go to eForms.com and get it for pennies on the dollar. eForms.com. It's an excellent way to do it. So before we get to the P. Diddler, we are going to. I'm going to talk about what these people have done here. So Mike Carter, 850 area code. What a great guy. He sends me this book. I've been a subscriber when you first started with only 1,000 followers, and have enjoyed watching your channel grow to now almost 1 million. It's over 1 million, buddy. In some ways, it seems like just yesterday. My aging body reminds me otherwise. I've always heard that if someone wants a student to learn to make the subject matter interesting and enjoyable, and you and your son have definitely made that saying true, as I have learned so much from watching your videos while getting a good laugh, to help relive a stressful day to boot. I don't have to tell you how blessed you are to have this time with Michael, which I agree, doing something both of you seem to love, which we do. This is an experience that he will carry with him long after you and I have left the earth. Well, don't let me think about that too soon. God bless you for that. We all could learn just from the bonding that you two have, if nothing else. That's true. Michael is my Goomba. It speaks volumes about your character that one's young adult child wishes to spend their free time with their old man. Heavy emphasis on the old, I guess. In closing, let me say that the language doesn't bother me, but I'm sure some viewers have an issue. So when I seen this, I thought of you. You should have said when I saw this, not when I seen this, just so you know. I hope you have some crayons. Keep up the great work, you two, and hope you continue to entertain while teaching us for many years to come. This is from Mike Carter, and look at this book. This is hilarious. It says, this is about me swearing, because evidently I swear too fucking much. Kidding, of course. It says, I've tried to stop swearing, but I can't. Grab a roadmap and find a place to fuck off. My face tells more people to fuck off than my mouth does. Watch your tongue, asshole. This is just a coloring book with various... Friday is my second favorite F word. Anyway, thank you, Mike. That was very sweet of you. Okay, look, this is just kind of crazy. So then I got this. This is from... And I think this is kind of fun, isn't it? A little bit. Fu Pham, executive director of Cube Together. And I think people sometimes send stuff because they want to plug their little deal, but this is a good thing. My name is Fu, and I'm a big fan of your YouTube channel. I am a substitute teacher in Southern California, and I listen to your videos on my way to and from work. I have learned a lot about law and how not to self-snitch, and always request a lawyer if I'm ever under arrest. Hopefully you're not. I'm also the executive director of Cube Together, a nonprofit organization. We teach students how to solve Rubik's Cubes, which, let me just tell you, I've never been able to do that. I'm telling you. Anyway, frustrated to beyond belief. I have donated Rubik's Cubes to you and your content genius, Michael Rivers. This is a small token of appreciation for you guys. The appreciation is me. So let's just see. So look, so we got two of these, and so we got one for Michael, one for me, and I am going to leave it just like this. Fucking A. I mean, how nice is this? I was out of town for a week, and doing some crazy stuff. And I come back to these gifts, and this is so sweet. So I got this one, a gift for you. It just has one name, Amy. I saw these cufflinks, and they match a tie you were wearing a lot. I thought I'd send them. I really enjoy your videos. I really look forward to watching them after work. Thank you for all that you do. You know what, you guys? I'm telling you, it really touches my heart that you guys sent. I mean, please don't feel obligated, but look at these. I mean, they're just sweet. So that's just a few fan letters and a few things that they send in. And you know what? I keep everything. I don't throw anything away. You can see, like, a bunch of stuff that I keep over there. So it just touches my heart and Michael's heart. So just so you know, we really appreciate every fan that we have. And we read not all the comments, but Michael and I, we go through some of the comments because they help us figure out what we're going to do next. Because we want to be relevant, but we also want to be kind of fun. And so now, without further ado, let's get to the P. Diddler. Now, Cassandra Ventura, as you remember, she sued P. Diddler. And if you think about it, there was a law in most states, actually, that where they gave you a 1-year window regardless if the statute of limitations ran out on whatever claim that you may have had for sexual assault. That can have positive and negative, intended and unintended consequences. So Miss Ventura says in a tweet after I don't know if it was a tweet or just a press release, after years in silence and darkness, I am finally ready to tell my story and to speak up on behalf of myself and for the benefit of other women who face violence and abuse in their relationships. With the expiration of New York's Adult Survivors Act fast approaching, it became clear that this was an opportunity to speak up about the trauma I've experienced and that I will be recovering from. Rodney Jones was promised the moon, and now he's got a 73-page complaint against the Diddler. And, and here's the thing. He's got, I don't know if his claims are true or not, but he's got it backed up with a lot of photographs. And we'll go through he's got about 10 causes of action here and about 40 pages. So I'm not going to read it all to you, obviously. But he goes through and he details how he was sexually assaulted, groped by Cuba Gooding Jr., was sitting, on another side of a door when somebody got shot. So, I might as well get paid for that. He wasn't anywhere near it. He was on the other side of the door. Oh, he freaked out so bad he had to lie down. And, and he didn't see who shot who, except for he was told that, to lie about where it happened. But these, if I'm a Diddy handler or Diddler handler, if I'm one of the pro Diddlers, I know I'm joking about this, and I really shouldn't joke too much about it, but celebrities are targets. People like to charge celebrities more for things because they have more money, and they like to go after them. If you remember, do you remember the Gwyneth Paltrow case? That guy just went after her because she's a deep pocket, and there was never a claim there. And guess what? She fought him and won. Right. She fought him and won. Yeah, and not only did she win, but she won attorney's fees. And Johnny Depp fought his case. And he won. And he lost the one in Great Britain, but he did win the one against Amber Heard. So when you look at these things, the lawyers for these guys, depending upon their skill level and their trial acumen, you would think that a diddler like this would, and I'm kidding, obviously, you would think that P. Diddy would be able to hire the best lawyers. He's a billionaire, right? So of course you're going to hire the best lawyers. But then the problem is you get handlers that are involved too. And you go to trial on something, and all this dirty laundry comes out. You got a party with underage girls. You've got drugs. You got this. You got that. And you get people who are really more afraid of the public image and afraid to expose this stuff in a court of law. It's cheaper in the broad scheme of things to settle than to have the danger of exposing some facts out there that you don't want out there. And so let's kind of go through the cause of action. So we have conduct and participate in a RICO enterprise through the pattern of racketeering activity. So we have a RICO. Remember it's Racketeering and Corrupt Organizations Act? Or Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. And that's under 18 U.S.C. 1962. It's a federal statute. So he's saying because he's going to have to prove a RICO, the members of the RICO enterprises all share common purpose to enrich themselves financially and sexually at the benefit or at the expense of producers, musicians, writers, creators, and artists. They're going to have to prove a criminal organization. And then they're going to have to say, because of that criminal organization, that's, what caused his damage. And it seems odd to put a RICO charge in here. But that's what they did. But then if you look at the second count, well, embedded in that is probably the acts in furtherance of the conspiracy, or, the overt acts in furtherance of the RICO. Defendants committed multiple acts of mail fraud and wire fraud. In other words, okay, so I'm hiring a hooker. I'm going to pay her on WhatsApp, or not WhatsApp, but like Cash App or Venmo or whatever. Second cause of action, sexual assault and sexual harassment. This is against Mr. Combs. Mr. Combs frightened and placed plaintiff in apprehension of harm when he physically and sexually assaulted him from October 22 to October 2023 in Mr. Combs' home in Miami, New York, United States Virgin Islands, and Los Angeles. Now, one of the things we haven't heard from the diddler is we haven't heard him come out and forcibly. I mean, we've had public statements and that kind of thing, but we haven't had hard, fast litigation. Mr. Combs violently gripped and palmed Mr. Jones' anus and crotch without consent. Mr. Combs forced Mr. Jones to work in Mr. Combs' bathroom and watch Mr. Combs as he showered. Mr. Combs forced Mr. Jones to work in the studio while Mr. Combs stripped naked to get his body massaged. Mr. Combs forced Mr. Jones to work while Mr. Combs walked around naked. I just, honestly, I'm skeptical about these claims, honestly. I'm not skeptical that the diddler is not a, kind of a wild man when it comes to either gay sex or drugs or underage women or whatever. I mean, he's in the music business. That stuff is rampant in the music business. The conduct of Mr. Combs described above was willful, wanton, and malicious. All right, the third cause of action. California's bystander negligent infliction of emotional distress. I love this one. Okay, I was standing in a street corner, and all of a sudden, I saw somebody fall down, and I was upset by it. Mr. Jones, corpse rate all year. So Mr. Jones brings his claim against Mr. Combs, Jake Combs, his son, and CRS, shooting of G. So here's what happened. Mr. Jones was about 2 feet away from G as Jake Combs and Mr. Combs shot him multiple times in the restroom of CRS. As detailed above, Mr. Jones was the only individual that aided G. Oh, Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones ran to his aid, and he put his hands on the wound, saw that he was bleeding, and he was a good Samaritan and should feel good about this. But instead, he was suffered bystander trauma. And Mr. Combs and Mr. J. Combs orchestrated a cover-up through the Fahim Muhammad and lied to LAPD and forced Mr. Jones and all the other attendees of the writers' camp to lie to the police as well. Mr. Combs and J. Combs knew that they shot G in the restroom and that G was shot as he was leaving the studio. One of the things it doesn't say in this part of the complaint is that he was on one side of the door and Mr. Combs and everybody else was on the other side of the door. So he didn't actually see that happen. But where else but California can you have bystander trauma? Fourth cause of action, sexual assault against Jane Doe. This is against Jane Doe. Jane Doe forcibly touched and attempted or threatened to touch plaintiff's intimate areas. Plaintiff with her own intimate body, but don't you rub up against me either. Jane Doe 1 used her mouth and performed oral sex on plaintiff while he was urinating in the restroom. Who the fuck does that? That's gross. Plaintiff fought her off while Mr. Combs and his associates sat outside loudly laughing. Jane Doe 1 then followed Mr. Jones outside the restroom and began undressing in front of Mr. Combs. Mr. Combs and his associates straddled Mr. Jones and attempted to forcibly have sexual intercourse with him. So let me ask you this. How many of these parties did Mr. Jones go to? And he continued to go to them. And he continued to work for Puff Daddy. Puff Daddy Diddler. And as a result of Jane Doe's conduct, plaintiff suffered and continues to suffer harm, including physical injury, severe emotional distress, humiliation, anxiety. I can see how he'd be humiliated. Anxiety and other consequential damages for which he's entitled to award for monetary damage. One of the things that the complaint does not say is how much he's looking for. But, you know, it is what it is. So that's the fourth cause. I think we have about 10 of these. So, premises liability for the sexual assault committed by Jane Doe. In other words, it happened on your property. Therefore, I'm entitled to damages from you, P. Diddy. Premises liability for the sexual assault of Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba, here's the deal. Quit drinking. Mr. Combs had a duty. Let's see. Mr. Jones was sexually assaulted by Cuba Gooding. No, I'll show you a picture of him here in a second. On his yacht rented by Mr. Combs in the Virgin Islands. Mr. Combs was present while Mr. Jones. Mr. Combs was present while Mr. Jones was being assaulted by Cuba Gooding Jr. What did he do? Mr. Jones was legally on the premises as a guest of the invitee, blah, blah, blah. Cuba Jr. Mr. Combs had dominion and control over the actions of Cuba Gooding Jr. and failed to stop. Here's the thing. You have to prove that he was in control of Mr. Cuba Gooding Jr. and failed to act. The allegation on Cuba Gooding Jr. is that he was touching his thighs and rubbing him on his shoulders and fuck, I don't know. But then, so you not only have that, you have, you know, they're not going after Cuba Gooding Jr. He's not listed as a defendant in this. Why not? Probably because he doesn't have a pot to piss in. But Mr. Combs is somehow liable because it's foreseeable that his guest Cuba Gooding Jr. would be X, Y, or Z, and that Mr. Combs had a duty, and he breached that duty of care. So the seventh, Trafficking and Victims Protection Act. You know, this complaint reads like a prosecutor's complaint in the U.S. Attorney's Office, because now you have he sex trafficked women, put them in front of the plaintiff, and because of that, somehow Mr. Jones was damaged. And Mr. Jones is the only complainant in this complaint. There's an allegation of inadequate security, and that probably relates to damages related to any of these assaults. There's aiding and abetting and inducing sex trafficking and venture in violation of the sex traffic. So these claims of criminal violations, there has to be a tie-in to how he was harmed, meaning Mr. Jones. Third cause of action, negligent infliction of emotional distress. So the rest of the claims are all kind of negligent or intentional infliction of emotional distress. So what you really have here, and you know, there's other allegations of, you know, grooming and some other, I'm not. How old is this guy? Mr. Jones has a mountain to climb here. Honestly, Mr. Jones has a mountain to climb here. He is responsible for every allegation that's in here. But we're going to thumb through some of these pictures here in a second. But if you look at this, honestly, I think he's going to be able to corroborate a lot of what he's saying in here. Now, whether some of this is consensual is one thing. Whether it was, you know, exploiting him based on employment could be another thing. And so you're going to have a lot of dirt come out of this. And this is, how much is it going to take to get him to go away? That's really what his lawyers are saying at this point, I would think. Because, Pete Diddler has a lot of money. And I don't know that he's, irrelevant, but I don't know that he's super relevant. You've got a guy who's, he owns a record company, he owns clothing labels, he owns liquor, he owns, a lot of different businesses. But just like Kanye, when he makes comments about the Jews, and all of a sudden Adidas says, well, we're done with you. You could get a similar blowback because eventually a critical mass somehow takes hold. And, then that's why I think it's really important for him to defend some of this stuff. However, we don't know what he settled with Miss Ventura for, and we don't know, what the other ones are settling for. But if he doesn't do something soon, they're just going to come out of the woodwork because it's difficult to say, what the right thing to do for Diddy is. This is just a civil case. And what is a civil case? The standard of proof in a civil case is just the preponderance of the evidence. That means slightly more true than not true. It's not like a criminal case where it's beyond a reasonable doubt. Not up to a reasonable doubt, beyond a reasonable doubt. So you're going to see, hopefully some litigation on this. But it's in federal court, so you're not going to see any cameras in this courtroom. It won't be like Johnny Depp. It won't be that sensational. But we will, see filings, and we'll see interrogatories. We'll see all kinds of other stuff, unless they settle it early. There's only one reason to file this, and that's to get the ball rolling with discovery. You get a judge assigned, you get a trial date, and you figure out exactly when we're going to litigate this case. So that's our little reaction to the P. Diddler. And I just don't know why people have to be so crazy. It's like the more money you have, the more trouble you can get in, and a bigger target you become, honestly. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, accompanied by Michael Genius, your content genius, and we will be getting more episodes to you, and we'll see you next time in Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe,